Do you have the stones, the mustard, to make the necessary changes to make life less difficult for yourself? Listen, man, it's your guy, Mr. Allan Lane. This is the Lisssten Maaan podcast hosted by your guy, Mr. Allan Lane. Welcome back. And if it's your first time here, welcome. I hope that everybody's doing well and fantastic. I have questions, and I need answers. And I'm not nosy. It's very important that you understand I'm not nosy. I am inquisitive. I'm curious. I have a need to know things. I have a need to know things. So let's just get into it, okay? Let's just get into it. Life is hard. I'm going to say it one more again. Life is hard. Your job is to be harder than life. Life is tough. It is what it is. But you are tougher than life. You're harder than life. Does that make sense? Let me explain. There have been many times in my life that did not go the way that I wanted it to go or how I thought it should have gone. It's life. Everybody has moments in their life. It's how you deal with those moments. It's how you deal with the hardships, the hurdles, the walls. How do you deal with these things that determine how far you go? The saying is, when life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. I've always been, of the school where if you get lemons, you make Mike's hard lemonade. You dig? It's not about just accepting what has come your way. It's about how you deal with what has come your way. I'm not a role model. I'm just a guy who knows a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. But one of the many things, and possibly one of the more important things that I had to learn, was to get out of my own way. I was in, and this probably will ring true for many of you, I found that 99% of the time, possibly a smidge more, in these situations, I was in my own way. And granted, like I said, life is hard, but by being in my own way, I made life harder than what it needed to be. It didn't have to be what it was. It shouldn't have been, as far as I was concerned. But my reaction to those situations often made it harder or prolonged the hardship. Once I figured out that, one, I was in my own way, and it took me a long time to figure it out. All through my 20s, I was in my way. I was my own roadblock all through my 20s. On the front end of my 30s, I started to recognize that the problem most likely was me. I was the reason why things were hard. And then on the mid to back end of my 30s, I started to figure out, okay, if I am part of the problem, if I'm part of the problem, what can I do to be part of the solution? Number one, stop being the problem. I identified what the problem was. Hello, it was me. Understanding that, the next step was, well, how do I remedy? Is there a remedy for the problem? Yeah, there was. Get out of the way. I got out of my own way. And what that did was it opened up the doors, multiple doors of opportunity. That is, again, on the back end of my 30s. The saying is, it's a long, hard road out of hell. It was more than a road for me. It was more than a road. But once I got on the journey, once I got on the path to rectify the issues that were inside of myself, and again, the first step was getting out of my own way. After I acknowledged that I was in my own way. And a lot of times That's hard to accept. That's hard to acknowledge. Ask yourself that question. Dig deep. Are you more than likely to, and this is not this episode's question, but this is a self question for you. Are you more than likely to blame someone else, for your hardships and downfalls? Or are you the type of person who can identify certain things about yourself and then make the necessary adjustments and or pivots to make the situation better? Can you identify that life doesn't have to be as hard as it is, but even in its hardship, you can be harder than life? And perhaps that's the task. That might be the task in itself, to identify the issue. And if it's you, do you have the stones, the mustard, to make the necessary changes to make life less difficult for yourself? Or are you the type of person who's going to blame the next person or just random people? Or are you going to blame this situation over here for why things are happening to you over here? And granted, things are connected. I understand that. But what I'm saying to you is, in order to get from here to there, you got to do the work. And if the work dictates that you need to be remedied, rectified, straightened out, corrected, if that's what needs to happen, are you the type of person that can look yourself dead in the eye and say, I need to straighten my shit out? Are you the type of person that can do that? So today's question is, you knew it was coming. I have questions. Today's question is, can you get out of your own way? Can you get out of your own way? I'm curious. I'd like to know. Drop a comment below. Can you get out of your own way? Other than that, I hope that you are all having a fantastic and wonderful time at life in general, because you deserve it. You dig? Podcast over. Boom! Listen, man.